We had that I-95 ramp that recently collapsed from a truck hitting it with a fire.
It's a good thing to bring this back to the forefront, right? Because we do have an infrastructure problem in this country.
In June 2023, the northbound lane of I-95 collapsed in northeast Philadelphia after a gasoline-filled tanker caught fire while under an overpass, resulting in the complete closure of the interstate in that area.
That wasn't due to aging infrastructure per se, but it's a great example of what could happen if, a major roadway is not being able to be used and or out of commission for a while.
The funny thing is that what's kind of spurred it is this I-95 collapse didn't have anything to do with the age of the infrastructure. It was truly steel melts at a certain temperature, and that explosion did that.
So I think that is a great example of what can happen if something does fail.
Unfortunately, when you're dealing with things as massive as highways, overpasses, train tracks, bridges, there are very rarely small claims, right? It's everything's fine until it's catastrophic.
Despite I-95 being a critical corridor, available alternate routes, fortunately, limited the collateral impact to various lines of insurance, such as inland marine and commercial auto. What are the risks facing aging infrastructure and roadways today, and what impact is that having on insurers?
We've been hearing about aging infrastructure and projects to improve infrastructure across the country, bridges, tunnels, etc. And so the cost that's associated is really the upkeep that's needed as infrastructure gets older. The upkeep that's needed and the maintenance that's needed, the costs are going up as far as that's concerned.
What types of insurance policies are needed to address these and other related types of risks?
I think from my perspective, right, when we're talking about infrastructure replacement, rehabilitation, expansion, and things like that, we're looking at the contractors, right? The amount of backlog, right, of infrastructure projects. And some of that is due to funding, right? But a lot of it is due to there are only so many contractors, right, that have the size and the experience and also the insurance to meet the requirements of state and federal departments of transportation to take on these massive projects, whether that's on the traditional property and casualty side with a rolling CSIP program to cover the liability in a cost-effective way, and even within those programs to have sufficient limits. You're replacing a bridge, a $25 million umbrella policy isn't going to do it for you, right? You're talking hundreds of millions in excess that there are not that many contractors that have that. And then the flip side of it, the other side of it is on the surety side, right? We all know when we're dealing with these public projects, one of the huge requirements is on the bonding side, on the surety side. So only so many companies have surety programs that are big enough to take on these type of projects. And even those same pressures on inflation and massive fluctuations in the marketplace and things like that, their portfolios, both personally and commercially, that are supporting their surety programs are being beaten up in the market on a daily basis. So at the same time as they're looking to expand their surety portfolio to take on more of these projects, you have surety carriers that are going, the cash isn't there, so we don't know if we can make that happen. So those are the challenges that you're facing, that I see, the area that I'm focused on, right, on the contracting side is getting that ample liability and ample surety in place to cover these projects.
In regard to aging infrastructure, Pender noted that no matter how well and how often infrastructure is maintained, if it's aging, it's an inherent risk.
It's only a matter of time before, to avoid a massive problem, a massive failure, we're going to have to shut these down. And you see that to a very small extent with I-95.
The most recent ASCE report card, which evaluates infrastructure across the United States, was produced in 2021, and that gave the U.S. a grade of a C-. So I don't think we're a C- company, and I think we strive for better than that.
As far as keeping up with the aging infrastructure, and it's just more important that from a proactive perspective, whether it's bridges, tunnels, whatever the type of infrastructure we're talking about, proactively having them dealt with from the standpoint of the upkeep that's needed to avoid the problem. You're not going to be totally avoid the problem, but to be able to manage the way through those issues. I think that's what's going to be important.
We know there's a lot of funds that have been put together that are allocated towards on a federal and or local level to help improve streets, roads, utilities that need to be upgraded in time. So that is all being put together and out there. And now it's really, we're starting to see those projects come together and kind of hit the streets from a money standpoint. And now it's just a matter of time of those projects getting up and kind of being put together to upgrade that infrastructure. I feel optimistic that everyone recognizes that it is a real issue and that the job will get done in time as these projects come together. In terms of impact and how to manage that.
For AMS TV, I'm Lori Chortis.